Today we're talking to Charles R. Goodman. He's from Alta, Iowa. He was born June 19th of 1927. So, before you entered the service, were you in high school then? Or?
Before I entered the service, I was in high school over at Alta, Iowa, and I graduated from there. And after I graduated from high school, I decided that I was going to go to the service. So I went to the service on July the 12th of that same year and took basic training in Fort Knox, Kentucky. My basic training was armory basic training with tanks and such stuff as that. And I went through 9 weeks of basic training down there. And then I went home, and then I went overseas. And I went from Alta down to, I believe it was St. Louis, Missouri. And from St. Louis, Missouri, we got on a troop train. And we went from our troop train all the way out to California. I can't remember San Diego, California, I believe it was. In that neighborhood, I'm not sure. And then we took another 2 weeks of basic training there, and then they shipped us overseas. And we went overseas on a ship that had, I think we had 5,700 men on board. And this was on one of what they called a Liberty ship, which wasn't a very big ship. And when we slept 10 high. We went in a place, and a room no bigger than this probably had 400 men in it. I'm not exaggerating. The trip overseas, it took us, I think it was 19 days, I'm not sure. But we had the honor of being within a little ways of Hawaii, and we got to see where the war started. From there, we went to Japan, Nagoya, Honshu, Japan. And I myself went into the military police, a unit in Nagoya, Honshu of 800 men. It was 4 companies, and we were the first people to go in, first soldiers to go into Nagoya to be military police. And from there, I spent the next 15 months, I think it was, in Nagoya, Honshu. I was very lucky. When I got off the boat, they lined us up and, well, you guys go there, 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 and there, and you go over to we're going to send you to the military police. And when I got to Nagoya, Honshu, there was about 60 of us that went into the military police from there. And does anybody know how to type here or do bookkeeping? I said, yes, sir, I do. So you just become our clerk. So from there, I become the company's clerk for one company at that time. But I was very fortunate. I have to tell you a little bit more about this. I was very fortunate that our sergeant that was in charge of us got himself in trouble. So they made me the full charge of the 4 companies. So I become what you might call a sergeant major. I never got the rank for it, and I would have got the rank if I stayed in. But I didn't stay in, and thank God I didn't, because if I had I'd have got in on Korea. So I'm very thankful for that. We're there. I can keep on talking if you want me to. I will. My job in the military police was to take care of 800 soldiers, to make sure they had food, make sure they had a place to sleep, make sure they had their rosters were in place, so they went out on duty. And we had I think 42 Jeeps that we patrolled the city with. And then we had other hand troops that walked the city quite a bit. We had what we called a KP there, not a KP, a place where you can go get pop and stuff like that, cigarettes. And we was able to do that. And we had a ration every month. We would get a ration of 1 carton of cigarettes, and then we could buy a case of chocolate milk. If anything that I missed more than anything else was milk. But our cigarettes, I wasn't a smoker, so I'm probably cheating here a little bit when I say this. I never smoked cigarettes. I sold my cigarettes. And at that time, the Japanese were very, very leery of us. And we were leery of them, of course. And when you walked up and down the streets, they were riding in rickshaws. When the cars they had, what cars they had, there'd be a car parked here, and they'd be making gasohol or alcohol out of wood, so they could drive a little bit farther. I had like I said, I was a very fortunate soldier because I had the privilege of working for a very wonderful colonel, and I kind of think he took me under his wing. I don't know, but anyway, he did. We had a total of 800 people in our unit. We had 4 captains, 8 lieutenants, 1 major, and 1 lieutenant colonel. And for some unknown reason, I remember his name like it was yesterday. Lieutenant Colonel Durette, D-U-R-E-E-T-E-E. And this was he was an old soldier, but he was a fine soldier. I was very fortunate in the aspect that I got to travel a lot of the city because of the position I was in. And I want to tell you, when we first got there, those people, we had our own laundry. We had to do our laundry ourselves, and we learned in a hurry that these Japanese ladies would love to do our laundry for us. And they'd do our laundry for, maybe a pack of cigarettes a week. But they learned in a hurry, and that soon became 2 and 3 packs a week because they learned where they could make some extra money from. Another thing that we had 4 dance halls in the city of Nagoya Hanshu for the soldiers. What they called them, there's a name for them. I can't recall the name what they called these party rooms. But anyway, they had Japanese girls there that would dance with the soldiers, and then they had Japanese beer. This Japanese beer would come in old bottles, probably about a quart in size, and I would say it probably run 14-15% alcohol. And then they had yes, I'm not kidding. And they had another drink they called sake. Sake would come in a little. It was a powerhouse. You could drink a cupful of it and you wouldn't know what happened. It was that strong, and that was very inexpensive. As far as other things were concerned, we had a lot of streetwalkers. There were a lot of professional streetwalkers, but that was one of our duties to make sure that they got off the streets. We also had a patrol that went out and picked these people up and took them wherever they had to take them. I won't say where they went, but you can get a pretty good imagination on that. From there, another soldier and I, we all had a little time off, and we'd get out and we'd walk, and we'd look the city over, and we walked one way and then we walked another way, and we were right there on the ocean, so we was right close to the ocean. But anyway, their bomb shelters were caves. They were caves. Caves were as big as this room, bigger. They were monstrous, but that's where they went when they had a bombing raid. As far as the Japanese people were concerned, when we first got there, these people were very, very polite, but yet they were very watchful of what we did. And their homes at that time were more or less shacks because, excuse my way of saying it, they had the hell blown out of them with bombs. And these shacks were built out of sticks. But we also, like I was telling you before, our food was very good because we were in the military police outfit, and our food had to be good. And another thing we had too, we didn't have any military police kitchen help. They hired all Japanese women to do our kitchen help. So that gave them extra money too. Another thing that really was quite interesting to me is when you walked on the streets, these people at that time didn't have bathrooms to go to. They went on the side of the street and did it. I'm serious. And they had people that would have, they called them honey wagons. And they would go in and take this stuff, and then they put that in their gardens, and they had garden fruit from it and stuff like that. As far as the service was concerned, I was very fortunate. I got to travel from one end of Japan to the other end because of the duties I had. And the train service we had was quite good. I can remember saying something probably out of school here. I had to go to about 200 miles away from where I was at to pick up some men that were going back to come to be MPs. And at that time, I rode out with a guy, and this gentleman was a military police officer, and he had a prisoner with him that had murdered some people. And he said, well, he says, you're in the military police, will you watch this guy while I go eat? Yeah, I'll do that. Well, I had a gun on my side, so it didn't make any difference. And when he sat across from me like this in the railroad tracks, and he was handcuffed. He says, excuse my way of saying it, but you SOB, if I get loose, I'll kill you. Well, he spent the rest of his life in Fort down here in Kansas, Leavenworth, Kansas. That's where he spent the rest of his life. As far as the stuff was concerned, when we first got there, it was really quite inexpensive to buy, but boy, they learned in a hurry. One thing that I had the privilege of doing, I like being as the part of the service that I was, I got to know a lot of these people and got to learn a lot of things that I probably shouldn't have known, but I did know. And I bought my mother a set of dishes, chinaware, way back in '46, and to this day there's one piece that's broke out of a set of 12. And I sent that home in a wooden box, and it cost me $55 to send it home. I remember that. And to this day there's one piece that got broke. Go ahead and ask some more questions if you want.
When you were in Japan, were you involved in any, did you see any like skirmishes, like amongst like you and the people?
Oh yeah, we had some skirmishes. Yeah. We had one time we had to get ready for it because they thought we were going to have a riot, and they backed off from it.
Did that make you nervous? Were you really?
You know, at that time it didn't bother me a bit. So didn't bother me a bit.
Your unit didn't see much combat?
Absolutely none.
None?
But I have been shot at.
What was that like for you?
Well, it was quite different. I got shot at and found out where the shooting was coming from, and we took care of the matter real fast like. Didn't have to shoot anybody. But I'll have to tell you another instance. We was out on patrol, and we come up on another patrol. They weren't supposed to be there, face to face, and that was very scary.
And you mentioned that your mom, you sent her things. Did you send letters back to any friends or family?
My mom, friends, yeah. And my family is all gone now. In fact, I have no cousins. I have no brothers or sisters or anything like that. All my cousins on both sides are gone.
So how did your mom feel when you enlisted?
My mother was quite upset when I went to the service. I have to tell you how I come home. When I come home, I got discharged out in Seattle, Washington. And I rode a bus home, and I got to Storm Lake, here in Storm Lake, and it was in the middle of the night, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. I'd come on Greyhound, I think it was, and I decided, well, there's a party in Alda that said, I'll take you home. So I went home, and at the house, I got up on the house and snuck up on the roof and crawled in the window and went to bed. And the folks found me that next morning in bed.
What was your most memorable experience during your time serving?
Actually, probably the people. The people were actually not much different than you and I. Like I said, I had the privilege of going out quite a ways from Nagoya Honshu, and I went out to a 4th of July celebration. They celebrated. It wasn't on the 4th, but it was a date, and they had a 4th of July fireworks and stuff like that. And these people didn't even realize that they had been in a war. I'm serious. They was out there, they didn't even realize it. Another thing I should tell you is that there were bathhouses. The men took baths in one house and the women took baths in another house. Yes. As far as their Japanese food is concerned, if you give them good food, they can do a beautiful, beautiful job of it. In fact, this is another thing that like I said, there's 3 of us that took to our laundry to this lady, and she did it. She says, you get me some beef, I fix you a meal. And she did, and it would melt in your mouth. It was very good. But like I said also, their homes were very rickshappy. Excuse my way of saying it, they had the hell blown out of them. They was all bombed out. In fact, we had one area there. I never had the privilege of going to Hiroshima where they had the atomic bomb. I wanted to, but I never did. Another thing that you want to remember too is they have monasteries, I guess I'd call them, like temples, where they had their Japanese priests and stuff like that, which never got affected by the war whatsoever. And another thing I can tell you too, it wasn't in our particular area, but there was a statue of one of their that they worship. What would you call them? They worshipped them anyway. Anyway, a piece of it chipped off and it was solid gold underneath. That I remember.
And then towards the end of the war, where were you when you heard that the war was over?
In Nagoya. I was here in the States yet at that time, but I went right shortly thereafter.
So you were back in the United States when you heard
No. The war was over in November 1945. And I was overseas. It was just occupying at that time. Like I said, we were the first unit to occupy Nagoya Honshu. And our commanding officer was MacArthur. I had to think about that a minute. He was in our particular, but never saw the man once. Like I said, we had our full board colonel, and he took good care of us.
So, and how did you and the people around you react when you heard the news?
Oh, you could have tore us off the ceiling. You could tore us off the ceiling when it was over with. It's part of the happiest moment of our life, because you don't know what's going to happen next. You don't know if you might be walking in some jungle somewhere and bang, it's all over with. But other than that, no. Actually, the Japanese people were. In fact, I have to say this about you see these people going to the bathroom on a corner, and it makes you angry. You're not supposed to do that, and you go kick them in the where you're not supposed to, or in the back end. But we soon learned you're not supposed to do that. These people don't know any better. But like I said, they were rickshaws. There's very few cars. Their transportation, we had streetcars, but I don't remember for sure. But I believe we had streetcars. But you get out, away from the city itself, and they didn't really realize that there was such thing as a war going on. And as far as Nagoya Honshu is considered today, I don't know how big it is. At that time, I suppose there may be, I'm going to guess 200,000-300,000 people. Probably 20 million today. See, that's been 70 years ago.
So then, after the war, you came back to the United States. What did you do after?
Excuse me?
What did you do after the war?
I went to college for a while, and I didn't like college, and I went to work out here in Storm Lake at a packing house, which was the biggest mistake I ever made. I worked there for 30 years, but it was good to me. But there again, I had a chance to go to work for the U.S. Post Office, and I turned it down.
Did you know of any family members or friends that were drafted? Did you lose any family members or friends?
You know, I had just one brother, and I had one cousin that was drafted into the Marines, and he got 7 battle stars while he was in the Marines, and never fired a shot.
Did you receive any kind of commemoration or anything like that?
Well, I got my World War II veteran. I got 3 ribbons.
So then, when the war was officially over, what was your final rank that you had?
I never got any higher than a sergeant, but if I would have stayed, I'd become a sergeant major. If I'd have stayed, I got it in Korea too. Thank God I didn't.
Well, we thank you very, very much.
We're done? Time. Oh my! I hope you learned a lot from me.
Yep. Do you have anything more to add?
What?
Do you have anything more to add?
Only that our trip back was. It took us about 17 days to get back to, and being a tech sergeant like I was able to. I didn't have to sleep like I did before. Another thing I need to tell you too is we had paper scrip over there, paper money. And when we got on a boat, they took our paper money and gave us cash for it. And we had a crap game, see, and one guy got off with over $100,000 off the boat. I remember that. And then I was only in, I think I was probably in Washington for about 2 weeks before I got discharged. And I was supposed to go on a World War II casket team, but they decided to discharge me instead. And you know what I mean by that? I would have had to go with the body to wherever his folks were and present the flag and stuff at that time, but I never had to do that, which I was quite glad I didn't.
Did you lose any friends or?
Yeah, I lost one. Yeah, he can't remember. He didn't get shot. I think he drowned it. I think he drowned it.
When you heard about the war officially like breaking out way back when, did you feel compelled to enlist?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I was just a punk kid, but boy, I was going to go right now. Yeah, absolutely. A little different feeling then than it is now, I think. Mm-hmm. I can't recall, but I believe, if I'm not mistaken, there's right at, this might sound fantastic to you, 13,000 veterans that die every day. And the military cemeteries are getting quite full of them. There's a method that you can get buried out in the military. You can they will furnish a casket and stuff if you want them to. You have to order it, and then they'll get it to you. And then you'll be buried in a military cemetery. I think there is a new military cemetery down by Des Moines, Iowa now. I'm not sure, not too far from Des Moines, and that they say that's rapidly filling up too.
So as far as when you were in Japan, what did you hear of the news around you? Like, what did you hear about what was going on in Germany?
Not
TV?
really. No, not really. No, just pretty much what was going on in our particular area. Mm-hmm. Not really. No.
Did you hear about the other islands, like what was going on in Okinawa or?
Oh yeah, we knew that was taking place. Okinawa. That reminds me of something that a lot of people don't know, but Okinawa is nothing but a rock, and lightning strikes there daytime, nighttime, all the time, and they could never put a communication tower up because the lightning was striking off all the time.
When you went through boot camp, like how difficult was that for you? I mean, like you said that you were just a punk kid. Were you not prepared for what was about to happen? Or?
I had no idea what was about to happen. I went in at 132 pounds, 138, I'm going to guess. And when I got through at boot camp, I weighed 172 pounds in just a few weeks. They fed us well. They trained us well. The longest hike I ever took was 16 miles. I think the biggest thing that really got me more than anything else was learning to drill with a rifle. I'll be damned if I can learn how to put that up on my right shoulder and left shoulder. And one time I was working at it. I was out in front of the barracks. By the way, our barracks was about 100 feet, maybe 150 feet long, about as wide as this building here, right here and here. And we slept a full company in that one barracks. But we all lived together at that barracks. When I was getting back to the rifle deal is, I was trying to learn to put that right shoulder up, left shoulder up, and trying to learn out there, and I turned my back, and a bunch of my friends were making fun of me doing it, because, oh, hell, you don't know what the hell you're doing. And all of a sudden they come, pinch hunt. What the hell are you pinch hunting me for? I turned around, there was a captain standing there. You got a big kick out of that. Another thing that I remember vastly about the service was that when you smoke, I didn't smoke, but when you smoked a cigarette, you feel broken, so there's nothing left. And when soldiers would throw it and put their foot on it, you know what happened to them when they did that? They dug a 6 foot deep hole by 2 foot wide, or 3 foot wide, and buried a cigarette in there, and then covered it back up. That was one of their things. As far as our exercise was concerned, we every day we went out onto a little range that we lifted weights and stuff like that to build our muscles up. And then, like I said, the longest hike we had was about 16 miles. But also, I never fired a cannon. I have been in a tank, and I fired a tank, I think it was a 30 millimeter shell, which weighed 26 pounds. And you'd fire that. We learned that the turret would turn and everything like that, and you learn to sight it, and you'd fire it to hit objects out there. And they were in a hurry to train us, so the other soldiers, they did stay safe. The guy that was up on the gunnery, he got to do all the shooting, and I got to shoot 32 rounds of it. Well, I remember that.
And what was your transportation from boot camp over to Japan?
I went from boot camp. I come home. I got on a train. I went to Louisville, Kentucky, and crawled on a troop train, and went from a troop train all the way out to California. Can't remember the name of the camp. And we got off there, and we had just another week's training, and then they put us on a boat. We went under the Golden Gate Bridge. I remember that. And we went on a boat all the way over, and we was within probably from here to the other side of the lake, from Hawaii. We got to see Hawaii. My wife and I had the privilege of going back to Hawaii, and we saw that here a number of years ago, which was great.
How many days long was your voyage over?
I think it was 19 days going over and 17 days coming back, or 19 days coming back, or and the other way around. I'm not sure.
And what kind of conditions were?
On the boat, the conditions weren't good. The conditions weren't good at all. Like I said, we sat in a room no bigger than this here, probably 100, but we was 10 high, and we'd have to shove ourselves in to sleep. So that wasn't nice. And we spent a lot of time up on deck. And like I said, I can't recall for sure, but I think there was 7,000 of us on the boat. Seems like it. We went what they called on a Liberty boat. I remember that.
Were they all like new cadets and that stuff, or were there some like returning veterans? Or?
Oh no! These were all. They didn't do such thing as return a veteran back in that day, because they was drafting and they had enough soldiers to take care of their matters. But now like in the National Guard here, my God, they go overseas 4 or 5 times. But actually, my service time was a real grow-up period for me. It made a punk kid into a man. I have maintained about the same weight as I am now. I weigh right at 200 pounds now, and that's about what I come home with, 200 pounds. When I tell you this, when I first got overseas, I fit in a 36 large uniform. I can't even get my arms in them now.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with us about your experience?
Oh, my experience, I really can't say that I enjoyed my experience, but I wouldn't take $1 million for what I did. The Japanese people in general treated us real well. The Japanese girls over there, they tried to make real good friends with the men because they could get about what they wanted from them. And there's a few of them that took Japanese wives and come home with them. Not many of our unit, I suppose. In our unit of 800, I suppose in the time I was there, probably 4. That's not very many. As far as going out with the ladies, no. The guys didn't go out with them. They were just a different breed of cat. Most of them were not much over 5 foot tall. Another thing I should tell you about is we called him Papa-san. He come into our barracks, our place where we lived. We lived in more or less like a cement, like a building like this, only it had 5 floors on it where we slept and everything like that. But anyway, he took care of he could speak good English, and he could take care of these Japanese girls and tell them what to do and stuff like that. And then we had one little Japanese boy that we adopted as our, what would you call him? He's with us all the time that we went anywhere. Anyway, he grew up. I don't know whatever happened to him, but he got to be where he was. We dressed him in our DI clothes. We had clothes to fit him, and he lived with us. His folks were dead. As far as another thing that I remember, you ever watched this semi wrestling? I've got to sit right next to it and watch them. The Japanese people would wrestle. And another thing that they did, they were very good baseball players. Very good. But I remember them guys were, oh my God, that big. They were monsters, man. It was fun to watch. As far as there was places in the city that we stayed away from, but there's also places that had the living devil bombed out of them, and there's just nothing left there anymore. As far as their food was concerned, if they had it, they knew how to fix it. Anything else?
As far as the bombs being dropped, like where were you? And how
As far as the bombs being dropped, we were over there at the time that bombing was all done. It was just shortly before that, but this area was just as flat as could be. Everything was gone. Everything was gone. And then they had something they was talking about that the people were affected by the stuff that come off the bombs. I don't remember what it was. It wasn't gas, but anyway. Then where they dropped the A-bomb at, I've been there too. I got to see that. And that was really what they said it was. Nothing. There's nothing there. But as far as the people were concerned, it wasn't them that were doing the fighting. It was the big guys up on top, the Hiroshimas and Hirohito and them people that were doing all the bad stuff. But as far as the people were concerned, I believe in my mind they weren't a bad bunch of people. But they learned in a hurry to take the GI. They learned in a hurry. Another thing that I should tell you too is, at the time, like I said, I paid $1 a carton for cigarettes. I didn't smoke, and people would get, I'm not going to say I did, but people got as high as $40 for a carton of cigarettes. Yes. And like I said, they had the sake, which was, hey, you didn't know what hit you. It was that, hell, you just didn't roll a glass, and he was gone. As far as other things concerned, Deborah was in there, and yeah, I can't say that either. I was in their stores and stuff like that, but they learned in a hurry that the GI would pay extra money for that stuff, and they sold it to us that way. I did bring home some Japanese knives. I brought home one Japanese knife that I wouldn't part with that for $1,000. I'm serious. It's a piece of, it's beautiful. I tried to bring home a couple swords, but that didn't work. You probably know about that. Other than that, I can't think of anything else that will help you. Anything else?
No, we just want to thank you very much for taking
You're
the time.
you're entirely welcome.
today.
I hope I helped you a lot in what I said and did here today, and good luck to what you're doing. And I appreciate you asking me to come and talk.